Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 29th of July, 2023. Coming up this episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast, the new Liberal cabinet shuffle. Who really cares? I mean, really, you look at some of the selections they have there and how they move this and move that and think they're doing us a wonderful favor. Well, guess again, ladies and gentlemen. Guess again. If you like and hear what you see, well, click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this podcast not meant for children because I smoke cigarettes and drop the F-bomb. Ooh, my goodness. Heaven forbid. Can't have that now. Anyway, stick around. I'll be right back.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, episode 219 of the Crusty Canuck podcast, Cabinet Shuffle. Who cares? That's right, I'm your host, Crusty Canuck, on this beautiful July Saturday. Beautiful Alberta. Anyway, yes, cabinet shuffle. That's big in the news now, too. Not to mention some other things that are happening around the globe and in this country. However, let's focus on the cabinet shuffle right now, because when we look at our leadership, we expect people to perform, expect our leaders to shine. However, the past 8 years has proven otherwise. And if you like to hear what you see, ladies and gentlemen, please click like, subscribe, share this all over your social media platforms. And if you feel like donating, look at the links in the description. I use the Buy Me a Coffee app, PayPal, and others where you can donate to this podcast freely if you like. I'm not going to sit here and demand cash, but every little bit helps to make this podcast worthwhile, because I like to make a podcast a full-time commitment, but I need you wonderful people out there to make that happen. So give yourselves a round of applause for being such loyal subscribers, and think about giving to them. Anyway, carrying on with episode 219. The Liberal cabinet shuffle. Who cares? Now, this is just off the cuff. I've got some links and stuff I'll put in the description for you there, ladies and gentlemen. But when you look at these cabinet shuffles, okay, you look at these cabinet shuffles and they talk about how we've got this person who innovates and that person who innovates and this person who does this and this person who does that. And they have great portfolios to make it just that much more magical for you and I. Yeah, right. Okay. So I'll just clip a little link here I got from, the beautiful communist news link in our country called the CBC, and see what they have to say about this too. And when you look at certain individuals that have been given positions and taken out of certain positions, we could speculate that certain individuals were probably let go for a very good reason, because they're incompetent, because they're idiots, and they're just not all too bright. You know what I mean? Just not that bright altogether. So anyway, I'll carry on here. I'll add this link from the CBC in regards to who will be calling the shots in certain key cabinet positions for the remainder of our Liberal government. So we'll see how this works here too. So I've got the position here. Just cue this up here. It's just getting ridiculous how many people are coming and going in these positions for our government. It must be nice to be elected and to have key positions in our parliament, in our government as we speak too. So I'll just leave this link here, and I'll read up and down for you as all too on how this works. So we'll start from the top of the page. Take notes, ladies and gentlemen, please. Any questions at the end of class, please just raise your hand and I'll get to them as soon as possible. Anyhow, enough of that stuff. So here's the position. Now there's a little schematic here. I'll leave this link in my description too. Who's new to cabinet? The orange means remains minister with a new role, and the red means no longer in cabinet. So president of the Treasury Board, of course, Monia Forte, she's gone. And Anita Anand, the previous defense minister, is taking over Treasury Board. Minister of Public Services and Procurement is no longer Helena Jazik. She's left politics. Oh, poor girl. And Mr. Former Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos. Yeah, procurement. Okay. Minister of Public Safety, Democratic Institutions, and Intergovernmental Affairs. That's a mouthful, isn't it, for this position? Dominic LeBlanc, a guy who ended up giving some kind of oyster contract to his cousin. Yeah, no conflict of interest there, too. Minister of Transport is no longer Omar Alagbra. It is now Pablo Rodriguez, the man that promoted C-18, C-11, C-36, more or less meaning he wanted to censor us. Whatever. What a putz. Minister of Mental Health and Addictions. It was Carolyn Bennett, the lady that promoted the safe use, that encouraged people to take legal safe drugs, is now being looked after by Yara Sachs. Now, we all remember Yara Sachs, okay? I did an episode on her last year. She sat in Parliament saying that honk honk meant Heil, little man with mustache, right? Right? Saying that there was guns everywhere. The riots were out of control. And yet she is in charge of the mental health ticket. That's scary shit. Anyway, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, Arif Virani, takes over from David Lamenti. David Lamenti, the guy who says we don't have private property, and him and Mark Mendocino were joking about sending tanks into the convoy. It was just a joke, but he tweeted it anyway, too. Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations was Mark Miller. Now it's Gary Andesangri, if I pronounced that right. So needless to say. So there's quite a bit of shuffling going on here who has these different positions. Now there's Minister of Citizen Services. It's a new portfolio. So it's a new position. Okay. A new position. So we have all this money to create these great government jobs that benefit a handful of government officials while we stick it up our butts, right? Yeah. Progress. Anyhow. Minister of National Revenue. It was Diane Laboutier. Now it's Marie-Claude Bibeau. Okay, Marie-Claude, how much more money do you need from guys like me? Think about that. Okay, Minister of National Defense. It was Anita Arnond. Now it's Bill Blair. Bill Blair, former Toronto police chief. There's videos of him on YouTube as he was the police chief talking about how they cracked down on some gang guns. And it was his suggestion prior to the OIC in May of 2020 to crack down on private gun ownership. And they used the Nova Scotia shootings as an excuse, and he's part of that fucking filth trap. So, yeah, he's going to be a great Minister of National Defense. Sure he will. Okay, Minister of Employment, Workforce Development, and Disability Inclusion. Okay, that's a mouthful. What kind of ministry is that? That's going off to Randy Boissonnault, okay? Wow. Minister of Housing, Infrastructure, and Communities. It's a newly combined, previously Minister of Housing and Diversity and Inclusion and Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Infrastructure, and Communities. So they combined all of these. So yes, they created jobs for taxpayer. Well, you're going to be paid in taxpayers' money to create this job. That's what it is. So not only do you have a new shuffle, we have a new positions just made up, pulled out of their ass. Here you go. Here's a job for you. Right? Holy shit. I'll leave this link in my description. I'm just reading this going, wow. Leader of government in the House of Commons was Mark Holland, Mr. Bowtie. And now it's Karina Gold, one of the actual architects of censoring the internet, too. Interesting. Minister of Health was Jean-Yves Duclos. Now it's Mark Holland. Minister of International Development was Harjit Sajjan. Now it's Ahmed Hussein. Minister of Diversity, Inclusion, and Persons with Disabilities. A new standalone portfolio, previously part of the Minister of Housing, Diversity, and Inclusion, right? It goes to Kamal Kara, right? So we have all these diversity and inclusion platforms. Just wow. Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food. Well, you don't need agri-food. You just Ministry of Agriculture. You have to hyphen all that. Was Marie-Claude Bibeau. Now it's Lawrence Macaulay, right? Minister of Tourism was Randy Boissonnault. Now it's Soraya Martinez Ferrada. Minister responsible for the Economic Development Agency of Canada and the regions of Quebec. Why can't you just say economic development? Pascal St. Ange, who's now, a heritage minister, so she has two of them, tourism and multitask. Oh, wow. Minister of Tourism is now Soraya Martinez Ferrada, who took it over from Randy Boissonnault. And Minister responsible for the Economic Development Agency of Canada and the regions of Quebec, Pascal St. Ange was. Now it's Soraya Martinez Ferrada. So she has two jobs. Oh, outstanding. That's great. Double the pay. Double dip, double dip, double dip. Minister of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship was Sean Fraser. Now it's Mark Miller. Minister of Labor and Seniors, newly combined, previously Minister of Labor and Minister of Seniors. Kamal Kara was, now it's Seamus O'Regan. So not only is he looking after the labor force, he's looking after the seniors too. I hope to God he actually tries to do something better than what he did as the Minister of, Veterans Affairs. I'll be getting to that shortly. Minister of Veterans Affairs, Lawrence Macaulay. Now it's Jeanette Perpetas Taylor. Wow. Minister of Sport and Physical Activity was Pascal St. Onge. Now it's Carla Qualtrough. President of the King's Privy Council for Canada. Wow. Well, it was Bill Blair. Now it's Harjit Sajjan, that poor excuse of a defense minister who said he spearheaded and figured out the whole Op Medusa thing back in 2006, which we all know was bullshit, right? Minister of Emergency Preparedness. Oh, it was Bill Blair. Now it's Harjit Sajjan again. So more double dipping, double duties, right? Right. And Minister of Canadian Heritage was Pablo Rodriguez. Mr. I like to censor the internet. Now it's given to Pascal St. Onge. Yes, okay. Yeah, great. Minister of Families, Children, and Social Development, Karina Gold. Now it's belonged to Jenna Thud. Yay, new person there. Here you go, Jenna. Minister of Small Business. How come we just can't say Minister of Business? Right? A new standalone portfolio, previously part of the Minister of Export Promotion, Small Business, and Economic Development. So just a big merger. Was Mary Ng. Now it's Richie Valdez. Minister of Official Languages, Jeanette Perpetas Taylor. Now it's off to Randy Boissonneau. Minister responsible for the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. Why can't you just say Minister of Atlantic or Atlantic Affairs? That's something, right? Now it was Jeanette Perpetas. She was double dipped too at one time. Wow. Now it's given to that lady, Geedy Hutchings. You remember her. She was the lady that said, oh, do you have an FAC? Do you have an FAC? Do you have an FAC? She still calls it an FAC when it's called an RPAL and PAL now. And she swore that she likes to hunt bear with the 22. Can you say, wow. I guess crack doesn't smoke itself. Jesus Christ, ladies and gentlemen. Anyhow, I'll leave this in the description for you as all to follow at your own leisure. But that is the change around. That is the portfolios they're trying to promote. Just the Canadian taxpayers, too. So when I look at that list of individuals that are supposed to be qualified to do something spectacular and something innovative, we know it's a con, ladies and gentlemen. We know it's a con. So are we really disappointed? Are we really surprised at the new innovations that we have in this country's government? Wow. I tell you, my Twitter feed is lighting up as we speak right now, too, because every comment that I see the Liberal Party or any Liberal cabinet member make in regards to the workers' handout and the grocery rebates, they keep saying, I counterpoint that with simple facts. It's like you're giving back money to Canadians that they already earned, right? So you're taking it out of our pockets and you're giving us pennies back. That's what it is. So this shuffle is nothing more than just smoke and mirrors as far as I'm concerned. Honestly, tell me what you think. You can reach me at crustybcanuck67@gmail.com or leave a comment at the end of this video. You can also find me on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter. I post on Instagram as well. And I also post on other fine podcast sites. I believe iHeartRadio, Player FM, and on Podbean too. And I'll put that card up for you if you'd like to see it, where you can find my podcast. Oh, yeah, here we go. In these fine places. Yes, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on Rumble too. Check my website at crustycanuck.ca and check out my shop too. I'll be links in the description for you too. I got t-shirts, hats, swimsuits, other Crusty Canuck paraphernalia for all you Crusty Canuck fans out there too. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this is brought to you by free speech. Yes, more important than your feelings. And also brought to you by the likes of Gary getting down to business. That's right, Gary, by a phone booth with bell bottoms and whatever red things in his pants and transport trucks. That's right. Anyway, I'll be right back after this message from my sponsor, Battlefit Bodywear. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Crusty Canuck here. Just to remind you, my wonderful audience out there, that Battlefit Bodywear was founded in Windsor, Essex, Ontario in 2019 and is a proud Canadian company. All of our apparel and accessories are purchased and printed right in our hometown by local independent business owners. And we pride ourselves on quality and customer satisfaction. At Battlefit Bodywear, we believe that every person has a warrior with them waiting to come out. Our brand is meant to inspire and fan the internal flame. Regardless of what your thing is, Stay to the next level and be the best version of yourself that you can be. We also believe in that maintaining balanced lifestyle is a key to a good life. It includes having a regimented and productive fitness and exercise schedule. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline will get you across the finish line. Get there with battle fit body wear. Crusty Canuck says so. Cheers.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And just a reminder, too, if you're liking here to see, ladies and gentlemen, please click like and subscribe. And don't forget to comment. Those comments actually do help. So the more you make a comment on any of my platforms, the better it gets the algorithm up there. It lets Canadians see my work and other Canadians alike, too. And I want to say a special thanks out there to my American listeners on my Podbean platform. Thank you very much to my new American listeners. Thank you. Well done in new parts, sirs and madams. Thank you very much. Keep liking, subscribing, share the content all over your social media platforms, and we shall carry on with episode 219. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. That is right. Cabinet shuffle, who cares? Now, honestly, when you think about it, you always look forward to a new cabinet shuffle. You kind of look forward to an election. But in the same sense, can we afford another election right now? Now, I know I said in my last Tuesday rant, it was economically sound. What I meant to say was it's economically unsound. Emphasis on those two letters, unsound. So my apologies for any kind of confusion there too. And if you have any additional information and you feel like correcting me about something, by all means, send me an email or put something in the comments. I don't mind. But if you want to be cruel and nasty and pull some social justice warrior card on me, we'll debate. And guess who will come out on top? C'est moi aussi. There you go. Anyway, carrying on with this episode. Now, when I look at this shuffle, I think it's just a play on words and a play on positions. Okay. Because when I look at every minister of national defense we've had since 2015, and I'm showing a bias here because I'm ex-military. I served. I did my thing. I worked for some good people and I worked for some not so good people. I did good things. There's times I fucked up and I owned it. But in the same sense, I still left the military with some dignity and some pride and respect for myself and for my fellow brethren. What I don't respect is the leadership that's being presented to us today. The leadership that's been presented to us, I would say, in the better part of 7 years. And I'm not just talking about the liberal BS and how they treat the portfolio. I'm talking about how they treat the men and women that want to live and serve this country, and those individuals that would take a bullet in a fucking heartbeat. You're looking at one. Okay. And regardless of the problems I have had, and regardless of the conclusions I came to, and the ailments I have overcome, and some of the demons I have slayed, and some of the demons that still linger on occasion and say hello, I'm still here, and I'm still proud to say that I served. But I'm not proud to say that we have a military right now that's not doing so well. And that's not because of the men and women in uniform. That's because of some of the senior brass and the politicians that are calling the shots. So put that in your pipe and smoke it and take it for what it is. Okay. There are too many individuals and so-called know-it-alls that think they know what's fucking best for you, for the troops, and what the rest of the civilian population. Procurement in this country is a joke. Why? Because they can't slap and tickle each other enough to understand reality. Okay. And I've actually heard some politicians say, well, my constituents don't want this, and some constituents don't want that, and my constituents needed this, and my constituents needed that. And I'm thinking, well, I'm pretty sure the consensus with most constituents, even the ones I talked to when I was doing my campaign as a member of the Veterans Coalition Party, they were all in agreement when it comes to upgrading our military. Okay, upgrading. I'm not saying put in some new papers here and some new plumbing there and a few flashy haircuts here and a few woke individuals here. No, they were talking about proper equipment, proper procurement, proper diplomacy, and proper values, and defending this country as a whole, not just defending someone's honor here and someone's honor there, right? With our population now reaching 40 million people, you would think the powers that be in Ottawa would generally get up the ante. Okay. Now, a lot of people have praised Miss Anita Arnond for some of her work. There's an article in the Ottawa Citizen that said she was trying her damnedest to get this done, get that done. And the Liberals just shoved her under the bus because the Liberals have a different mandate when it comes to our military. Well, I don't believe the Liberals, and I don't believe Miss Anand either. Okay. Because the first thing that she tried to do when she got to become the defense minister was worry about the sexual harassment complaints that were going on. Now, don't get me wrong here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't tolerate that kind of behavior from any man or any woman in uniform. And those individuals that are responsible for some of the heinous acts that were committed against some of our female and male personnel over the past 10, 15 years deserve to be punished to the highest regard of the law. But you punish those individuals. You don't punish the whole service. You don't punish the whole Navy. You don't punish the whole Army. And you definitely don't punish the whole Air Force. You punish those individuals that are responsible. That's how it's done. How many times have we heard cases about certain RCMP officers doing this, or certain Toronto police officers doing that, or certain OPP or Sécurité de Québec doing this and doing that? Do you punish all those police services? No. You punish those people responsible. Okay, so hats off to her for trying to get down to the business to get this thing done. But there was more problems at hand. A hell of a lot more problems at hand to worry about. And her big claim to fame is what? Getting the F-35 jet? Oh, that's great. And when's the first one delivered to us? It's going to happen, what, maybe 2025, 2026? Great. So we have a tiny military and such a tiny little budget, yet we can give away billions in a frickin' heartache. There's still controversy over the $93 billion that Catherine McKenna, Climate Barbie, the former Liberal MP, the former Minister of the Environment, okay, gave away to somebody or went missing. She was in charge of infrastructure too, I think her last term in government. And all this money's gone missing. Interesting. So there's still talk about that. Where did it go? What's happening? So when you procure things for this country, why is it so hard to upgrade our military? Is there some kind of conspiracy? Is there some kind of unseen force calling it the shots for us? Or is it just blatant fucking laziness? Right? I think it's blatant laziness, and I think it's blatant disregard because there's a lot of people in this country still with the mentality where, well, we're peacekeepers. We don't need this. Oh, we keep the peace. We don't need equipment. Bullshit. In order to keep the peace, you have to learn how to fight for it. And in order to fight for the peace, you got to have the gear, right? So it's logical. We don't have to have a big, humongous service like our friends down south. But with what we have in regards to resources, the freedoms we hold dear, and our land masses, we deserve a better military. Okay. And considering the amount of taxes that the average Canadian is paying for said government services, you would think the government would get a grip on that, but I guess they haven't. Okay. The Conservatives tried to do a bit in the 80s, didn't really work out. The Harper Conservatives tried to do a bit around 2010 to 2014, didn't really work out. Why is that? And now when the Liberals get a hold of everything, cut, spend. Okay. Now there's a reason why our American friends are on our asses about this whole thing. For the simple reason is that they don't believe they should foot the bill for anybody. And rightfully so. Right? We have to trust our allies as allies. They're allies for a reason because we probably think alike when it comes to democracy and freedoms. We probably think alike when it comes to personal liberties. And we also think alike when it comes to defending this country. We hear all these yahoos and these wackos in Parliament talk about defending our sovereignty and defending democracy and freedom. Yet you don't want to defend Canadian democracy and freedoms. To you liberals out there, it's a joke. Right? Is this a joke? Is it? Do we have to be ashamed of it? Why? Because there's parts of our history that are just terrible? Yeah. There is parts of our history that's terrible. There's also parts of our history that's fucking glorious too and wonderful. That's got to be defended. But when I hear these politicians talk and these so-called leaders and know-it-alls come up with these great ideas, and yet nothing comes to fruition, but there's more billions being spent over here and over there and not here in this country. Why? Are you pining for a seat in the UN? Are you pining for some kind of world recognition? We are a laughing stock to our NATO allies, more so now than what we were in the 90s. And that was the decade of darkness. And you talk to any man and any woman that served in the 1990s, especially during the Balkan conflicts, and you'll know big time. You'll know big time why it was a decade of darkness. Not because of the soldiers, not because of what was going on in Europe at that time, what was going on in Ottawa and with senior leadership. And that'll give you a better perspective. Big time. Right? So this cabinet shuffle, this big shuffle. That's right. Episode 219. Who cares? Yeah, really, who cares? Because again, we have more unqualified people calling the shots. And I read to you about certain cabinet positions that were just created and merged in the name of diversity and inclusion. I believe in giving someone a job that earns it. Not because they're this or because they're that, or because they stick their face here or stick their fingers there or stick their nose there. It's because they have what it takes, regardless of color or creed or religious or political belief or whatever language they speak. That's the point. That's the point of merit. That's why my motto is humanity and merit wins the day, meaning you do your best to be good to people and you earn something. All those names that I read off, yeah, they were elected. But how much have they really earned, ladies and gentlemen? How much? Other than the base salary of $189,000 or $190,000, plus the ministerial perk, I think, is roughly about $240 or $260 a year. So it's quite a bit of money. Quite a bit of money they get paid to sit there and smile and look pretty and saying, we're fighting for the little guy here. If you're fighting for a little guy, you would abolish the carbon tax. You would abolish the following bills: C11, C18, C36, C69, C48, C75, C21, C5, and whatever else is in the works behind our backs as I sit here and vent to all you wonderful people. To me, Canada is a place of liberty, and we can do better in the name of liberty and democracy. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what you say. I'll take Voltaire's quote right here. I may disagree with what you're saying, but I'll fight for your right to say it. That's classical liberalism, right at its finest, which is based on liberty, right? Basic liberty, right? I was looking at my paycheck there last week and I realized, okay, yeah, this is working out and I get to pay the debt that I owe my friends who gave me a hand, which is good. And I still see some squanderings about student loans and, oh, how can I pay this back when I'm not finding a job in my set profession? And, well, you take a loan, you pay it back. And it doesn't matter if you take underwater basket weaving or gender studies or a CRT or fucking rocket science. You borrow money, you put it back. Okay? Now, there's a big strike going on in Toronto, the Metro grocery food chain. There's, I think, 3,700 workers that are on strike now. And the majority of them are part-time workers. Okay. Now, I can understand helping the little guy out when you need to. I can understand you protect your workers no matter what union you're with when the workers are really being treated unfairly. Okay. But here's something to think about. If you work a part-time job and you don't strive to get into a full-time position or strive to do better with your life, then that's not on the union or the store you work for. That's on you. Okay. If you expect to make a killing part-time in a grocery chain or any kind of agricultural chain or any kind of food service industry, you're wasting our fucking time and you're wasting your own too. Okay. Now, I meant I'm kind of lucky to find the full-time job that I have. right? And business is getting kind of slow right now. So when I'm at work, I try to do things to keep me busy for a good solid 8 hours if I can. And the less I work, the less I get paid. It's that simple. But I'm still on average making about 40 to 45 hours a week to the best of my ability. Now, come the fall, it'll probably go up to about 50 hours or more a week based on the cattle and based what I have to feed and all that good stuff. And I've worked in grocery chains before too. And I know what it takes to keep a job in a grocery chain. Now, whether corporate says this or corporate says that, yeah, there are some record profits going on in there too. But there's also something called the carbon tax that is really sticking it up the chuffs of the Canadian taxpayer. So the more we get rid of these taxes, the more incentive that some of these companies might have to give you a full-time job. But here's a simple incentive, okay? If you're working part-time in a deli counter or part-time at a produce section or part-time in grocery, and you're sitting there complaining because you're not making enough money, get off your ass and find something else to do. It's that simple. What else are you good at? What else can you do? Soul search. Look at what you can offer something. What can you do to do better? Okay. Now, there are greedy people out there and there are greedy companies out there. But in the same sense, too, look who's controlling the money in this country. Look who's controlling the housing rates in this country. Look who's controlling the transportation. Look who's controlling the taxes and the revenue. You can blame this guy. Sure, it's easy that way, too. All these record profits. But while you're complaining about these corporations and their record profits, how come you're not talking about the Bank of Canada and the record profits they had and the bonuses they gave themselves in the past 2 years? How come you're not complaining about your local MP who gladly took a raise 4 times since COVID started? How about you not talking about your MPP or your MLA that had a healthy raise? How many times since 2020? Puts things in perspective, though, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not dissing anybody who works for a living because I work for a living. So does my wife. So does my family. My father was a firefighter for a very long time, for the better part of 31 years. And he still found work to do afterwards to keep the money going. He was smart with his coin back in the 70s and 80s, so he knew what to do. Good for him. But he still worked. It's that simple. And it doesn't matter what profession you get into. You, as the individual doing the work, you have to better yourself. It's not your boss. It's not your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or wherever you call a lover. You got to make those decisions. It's that simple. Right? So yes, strike if you're being treated unfairly. But if you expect glory and utopia for $16 an hour part-time, come on. You probably got a reality problem because really, I've done 2 part-time jobs. When I left the service, I was working 2 part-time jobs at once. Okay. And it's difficult, but it's still work. And it worked out. I still have money to pay my bills and some money to put in the bank prior to this inflation. And things are okay. They weren't perfect, but they're all right. But I'll say again, if you expect glory out of working 20 hours a week or 25 hours a week, and expect to put a down payment on that car or put a down payment on that home if you can afford it, it's not the union's fault. It's yours. Anyway, I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 29th of July, 2023. I hope nothing but good things for you all out there. Please stay tuned. This Tuesday, I'll have another Tuesday rant up for you all there too. And just a reminder, if you like and hear what you see, ladies and gentlemen, please click like and subscribe. Share this content all over your social media platforms. My wife and I are off to a barbecue tonight, which is kind of nice. Have a couple of drinks, have some burgers, chew the fat, and bitch about politicians full-time yet again. Like I say, I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 29th of July. I hope nothing but good things for you all out there in these trying times. Don't let the UN, don't let social justice warriors and anything cloud your judgment. You be the judge of your life and you take control of your lives. Right? So look after each other in these trying times. And like I always say, ladies and gentlemen, humanity merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you Tuesday. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
Smack my ass and call me Judy.